Following the custom of other years, I think this program of Senator Reports will come to an end during the last week in July. And before we get that far, I want to express my thanks and appreciation to the stations, to the operators and their associates, and to everybody who's done me the honor to listen and to view these programs. We've sought to be inoffensive and go in for no partisanship, and to keep them just as objective as possible. I had hoped, therefore, before this series ran out for this session, to say a little something to you about these weekly White House conferences, because it's a matter of some moment to me on the basis of some of my contrivings in other years, and because it operates as one of those extracurricular functions that is most useful to government and I think to the country. So today, I think the advance notice that went out indicated I talk a little about the White House leadership conferences. You see, every Tuesday morning, precisely at 8:30, a door opens and the President walks into the cabinet room in the White House, and there we are. He sits down and the conferences get underway. There's something a bit historical about it, because some years ago, to be exact, 14 years ago, when I served on a joint committee of the House and Senate to reorganize the legislative branch of government, I had included, among other things in the bill that for which we sought enactment, a provision that there had to be a formalizing of these liaisons or these relationships between the White House and the leadership in both branches of Congress. It was a provision to have these meetings held at stated periods, preferably every week. But when the time came to present that bill to the Congress, I had a session with the Speaker, and he said he would under no circumstances approve that kind of a proposal, and if we insisted on it, there would be no bill. I remember how I begged and wheedled, because to me it was important in the scheme of things. But he put down a very firm foot, and that was the end of it. And so all these years later, there come these leadership conferences at the White House. And while they're not statutory, they haven't been formalized by law or resolution. Yet with few exceptions, they take place every week, and they've proven very fruitful and very constructive. Now you see a conference of that kind must have an agenda. What do you discuss? Well, usually the day before, maybe 2 or 3 days before, I'll be in contact with the White House, and my opposite member in the House of Representatives, Congressman Halleck, the minority leader, will also be in touch. And out of these discussions, there will come suggestions as to what should be put on the agenda for a discussion that will last 2 hours, 2.5 hours, or even 3 hours with the President and his associates. Now, as a typical agenda, you might in a single day have on the schedule something to do with a wheat bill in the field of agriculture, a tobacco bill, a pending housing bill, something relating to industry. There could be a tax bill, but sometimes there'll be 5 or 6 items, and depending, of course, on their importance, there might be as many as a dozen. But at the end of every one of these conferences, there is so-called status report by the minority leader of the House and the minority leader of the Senate. That's myself. So that gives the President a pretty fair idea of all the things that are going on, all the controversies, and the things that are immediately before us. So that's the way your agenda is made up. Now you may wonder who attends these sessions. Well, we would start, of course, with the President. And secondly, the President's staff. There's a very substantial White House staff, and people are experts in their field. One staff member is former Congressman Anderson of California. He serves in the agricultural field because he was on the Agriculture Committee of the House of Representatives for a great many years. The White House lawyer happens to be there, Gerald Morgan, who served one time on the Legislative Council staff in the House. A very brilliant lawyer in that field, and does a top-flight job. You have Don Parlberg, one time Assistant Secretary of Agriculture, who is now on the White House staff and gives attention to things in that particular field. So all of the staff members are there, and they have background in a great many fields. Then, of course, depending upon what the nature of the discussion is that morning, you will have people from the departments there. Suppose we discuss some bill relating to agriculture. As a general thing, the Secretary of Agriculture, Mr. Benson, will be on hand, perhaps his Undersecretary of Agriculture, Marvin McLean, and there may be some specialists as well. If it's something relating to Interior, then Secretary Seaton, the head of the department, would be there. So you see, that gives you first the staff view, the departmental view, and then from the Capitol, you get first of all the leaders, and you get representatives of the committees that have jurisdiction over the legislation. Usually from the leadership, you'll have Chairman of the Policy Committee, Senator Bridges, Chairman of the Conference, that's Senator Saltonstall, the Assistant Minority Leader, Mr. Kuechel of California, and myself. And then you get these committee members, and you get the opposite numbers from the House of Representatives. And then finally, of course, you have the President there. So out of this group, you get a composite of background and of views and of experience that is invaluable not only to us, but to the President as well. So those are the people that attend these conferences every Tuesday morning, and that's the way the general agenda is made up. Now you may wonder about the President's role. When he comes in, we go to work at once. The agenda is typed so that everybody has a copy, and the subject matter is indicated, 1, 2, 3, 4, and who will discuss it. So the President starts right in with number 1. Well, today we discuss a wheat bill, and it could be that one of the leaders will say something about it to give the status of the bill so far as either house or both houses of Congress are concerned. Then, of course, the committee members might join in to give their views and what has happened in the committee discussion. And then you start in with the department, and by that time, the President will have been pretty well fortified. Then, of course, his staff comes in on it, and then the President, by question and answer, by a variety of queries, gets to the heart of the matter and also discloses some of his own viewpoint and objective and what he is seeking to do and how this comports generally with his general program and his overall policy. So you see, that's the way these White House conferences operate. And as I say, they strike deep in my own experience because it's a long time ago since I tried to get them formalized. And now, of course, they come at stated periods. And it's a rather happy thing for the country that this liaison can take place where we sort of exchange and swap views and ideas and convictions. And then, of course, go a little further than that, because that's not quite where it concludes. Now, when the conference is over, the next thing that happens is a press conference. Usually myself and Congressman Halleck will then repair to one of the rooms in the White House, and all of the press that represent the White House correspondents will come in. Oh, there may be as many as 20, 30. There could be more, as a matter of fact. And usually the leading question is, well, what did you talk about this morning? Well, you know, sometimes you just try to disarm them. Sometimes there are off-the-record discussions that you can't allude to. Perhaps they never even appeared on the agenda, and they haven't been advanced sufficiently so that you can give it to the press. But, you know, they're very smart, very keen, always very proper and circumspect. And when you've indicated pretty well the things generally that you discussed, then come the questions. Did you discuss anything about the Geneva Conference? Did you discuss anything about the Moscow art exhibit, which was a matter of great controversy here in the Capitol? But they'll always know the controversial things, and obviously there'll be questions about those. So after a time, they get enough to develop a story based upon what the discussions were, and when that's over, You go outdoors if the weather is not too inclement, and you appear before the TV cameras. You see, they listen in on the press conference, and they'll select 1, 2, 3, or 4 questions, depending on how much you can cover, let us say in 2 minutes each, on TV and radio. They have to, of course, dub that in, as they say, into a longer newscast, and it cannot be too long. So they try to catch the highlights that they think will have appeal on that particular day. So when the conference is over, you still have a press conference, you have a TV conference and radio conference, but that's not the end. For then you come to the Hill just in time for the opening of the session on that same day. And a few minutes later at 12:30, your own party has a policy meeting. As a general thing, it involves nearly all of our members on the minority side. We discuss policy over the luncheon table because it saves time, it creates good humor, and you can do it in a shorter space of time. So we get off in a room pretty close to the chamber, and there then follows the discussion of what happened at the White House, and I make them a report. I make a rather detailed report because I think they're entitled to know. It's their prerogative as senators, and they have as much right as any one of their party officials like the minority leader. And so that report is made, and when that's over, there's still one more to go, and that is another press conference of those people who represent the press and radio at the House and Senate. Or we'll have 20, 25, sometimes 30, and they'll have lots of questions, cover everything, and they have an uncanny way of asking all the things that the White House reporters did not ask, and when you get through, they'll have the whole story. Sometimes you will communicate to them and say things that you say are off the record. You wonder whether it'll be respected. It's respected every time. I have the highest faith in those who cover these sessions, because if you say, now, I'm sorry, but it would be a little awkward for me if you wrote about this at this time, but I think I should tell you, so you have the background and probably will want to do some story on it at some later time. So you see, Tuesdays get to be full days, starting with the President at the White House in the morning and running all the way through until all these conferences have been concluded. So that's the way the leadership conferences operate. Very informal, but in my consideration, very objective and very fruitful for the leadership, for the executive branch, and I think for the country. So may I say thanks for the opportunity to just fill you in, because sometimes there's a glamour about these things when you read about them, and you wonder whether there's something mystic and mystical about it. Well, there isn't. Just people clothed with some authority, searching for truth and light in the interest of the country. Thanks so much.